Hi all, you are watching a segment of the Countdown program from October 9, 2023. Today is Monday. View all of our programs on the Patreon resource. We'll talk about the topics of today's postscript a little later, but now let's get to the main topic. Putin opened a second front. Middle Eastern terrorist. On Saturday, October 7, as if as a gift to a bald rat, Hamas attacked Israel. According to the Israel Defense Forces, more than 700 Israelis have been killed and 2,150 injured since Saturday morning. The numbers of dead and injured are constantly growing. Hamas terrorists are friends and partners of the Kremlin. Like once upon a time, in Soviet times, the Palestine Liberation Organization with Yasser Arafat. At that time, the Middle East direction was led by Yevgeny Primakov, Putin's idol. After the collapse of the USSR, the level of aggression of terrorist movements dropped sharply, since the main uterus that fueled international terror died. The Irish Republican Army announced its dissolution, the ETA movement dissolved itself, and even Yasser Arafat became peace-loving right up to the Nobel Prize, until he was taken to the cemetery. But with the arrival of Putin and his team of revenge seekers in the Kremlin, dreaming of recreating an evil empire, the entire terrorist monkey house came to life. Representatives of Hamas, Hezbollah and the Taliban flocked to the Kremlin. The heirs to the Primakov case did not hide their interest in opening a second front against the collective West. According to geostrategist Putin, the West may simply not be able to cope with two large-scale wars. Therefore, the activation of the second terrorist front was only a matter of time. And now it has come, surprisingly coinciding with European fatigue, unimpotence, and the electoral cycle coming into force in Europe and the USA. The Kremlin's plan is simple. The world order has been shaky for a long time, and the actions of the Western political establishment do not correspond to reality, and the bald goat constantly bleats about this. Remember what he said from the podium in Valdai. A multipolar world, you will soon receive confirmation, and all that. The attack by Hamas terrorists, fueled by Iran and blessed by the Kremlin, should clearly demonstrate the validity of these Putin's statements and provide an opportunity to bleat once again. After all, I warned you. Now get a big war in the Middle East, a long war in Europe and streams of refugees into their countries concerned about tolerance. Moreover, receive them from different directions. And deal with it as you wish, if you do not comply with the wishes of your post-Soviet comrades. And in the future, you will still see an increase in the level of terror in the EU countries. How do you like that, pampered Europeans? Israel's representative to the UN compared Hamas's actions to the attack on the United States in 2001. This is Israel's 9/11, Erdogan said. The international community, and especially the UN and the Security Council, have a very short memory when it comes to Israel. The terror we endure is quickly becoming an afterthought, but this time will never be the same. We will not allow the world to forget the atrocities our country has endured. Meanwhile, a demonstration in support of Hamas actions took place in the Jordanian capital Amman. It took place near the Israeli embassy. And need I say in what ecstasy Tehran danced? Thus, the anti-Western coalition of the post-Soviet goats Rue has been formed. Watch this and other stories in full on the Patreon resource. Become our patrons right now and look further in this program. The global misunderstanding called the UN continues to demonstrate its impotence. Following an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council on the situation in the Middle East, no action was taken. Increased street patrols have been introduced in London. They cannot rule out attacks by Islamic extremists who have long penetrated the UK. Iranian security officials helped the Palestinian Islamic movement Hamas plan an air and ground attack on Israel. Senior sources in Hamas and the Lebanese militant organization Hezbollah told the Wall Street Journal. The Israeli defense minister has ordered a complete blockade of Gaza, where a ground operation to clear the territory of terrorists may begin in the next 48 hours. Senator Lindsey Graham called for strikes on Iranian refineries, and the United States sent an aircraft carrier strike group led by the aircraft carrier Gerald Ford to the eastern Mediterranean. See also in the program, Postscript. Analysts at the American Institute for the Study of War report facts indicating that Russia is preparing for a real conflict with the Baltic countries and NATO. She blesses the war in the Middle East, while simultaneously building up forces in the Baltic direction. The Polish direction has been entrusted to Lukashenko. Putin professes the old technique: keep the enemy in constant tension, and gradually increase the level of threats. All this smells bad and looks like a prelude to a world war, where the role of the detonator can be played by terrorists equipped with dirty bombs from Socopithecus. And that is all. See our entire program on Patreon. And thanks to everyone who is becoming our patrons right now. Hugs to everyone. See you on Thursday. Glory to Ukraine.